Guys, in wait for join and then we'll start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pixel and Principles. I'm here with the design and through the first part of this workshop. So, you all have come here to learn design. I'm here to teach design. Let's ask the first question: what really is design? Most people might think design is about making things pretty, right? And honestly, that's a fair assumption, but that's only half the story. Just a minute. Here's how I like to think about it. Art is created for expression. It communicates. There aren't any rules in it. But design, design always has a job to do. A painting exists to be experienced. A button exists to be clicked. A poster exists to make you stop walking and read it. Design solves a problem and uses so good design lives in the intersection of form and function. Form is function is something how something works. Bad design gets one right and ignores the other. You probably used an app that is stunning but impossible to navigate, but a tool that works perfectly but looks like it was built in the 1998. So great design nails both. Think of the iPhone when it launched. Before it, phones had keyboards, like tiny screens and tiny keyboards, right? Apple asked, what if the whole front face was on the screen? That's form and function working together. The design was the product. So where is design? Design is everywhere. You just don't notice it when it's well. That's actually the goal. The chair you're sitting on, it was someone decided how tall it should be, what angle the back should be in, whether it should have armrests. Every detail was a choice. The traffic sign outside, the shape, the color, the font, all chosen so that you can read it at 60 kilometers per hour in the rain without thinking. Even this presentation, the font, the spacing, all these are design decisions that either help you to follow along or make it harder. Design is not decoration, it's intention. Every element on screen, a page, or even a product is either helping the user or getting in the way. So, when we talk about design principles today, we're really talking about a set of tools that helps us make intentional choices so that whatever we create is clear, useful, and of course, beautiful. Now, let's just look before we get into good design, let's talk about bad design. You definitely experienced it before. This is intentionally like painful to look at. Notice the text. There's no clear reading order. You know, you don't know where to start, where to end. Your eye is very confused. There's no balance. The whole thing feels just tilted, unstable. This is what happens when design principles are ignored. And here's the thing: the content on the slide might be fine, but the presentation is not design communication. So the good news, every single one of these problems has a solution. Each solution has a name, a design principle you can learn, apply, or even practice. That's exactly what this session is about. Let's look at the better poster now. When all the clutter is removed, your eye is guided to the image first. You understand what is happening, get an idea, Then your eye moves to the title. Now you know what is happening. Then your eye moves to the time, the date, and the entrance fee. So within just seconds, you have all the information required for the hypergraph, balance, hierarchy, alignment, white space, and proximity. Jumping into each of these. Now that we understand color thing for the readers word, they've already found something about this. So we need mixing get what forms the whole color. Just a minute. Yeah, sorry for that. So while choosing colors for your design, there are three ways or four ways to choose them. Majorly monochromatic is when you choose a single color, play with the hues with of it, and that gives a good cohesive design. Or you can choose it as complementary colors, where the colors are opposite on the color wheel, red, green, or yellow and blue, or like that. Or you can choose analogous colors. There are three colors which are consecutive to each of them, or random colors which are equally placed on each other. So we'll get back to this just in just a minute. Before users read text, so each color one sales why signs are red, why the buy now on e-commerce sites red accelerate it it says act now. Blue build trust it banks and even tech companies. Why do so many use blue? Because blue consistently show that blue communicates reliability, calm, and competence. Whereas green, okay, my bad. Uh, So green suggests balance, growth, and health. It's the most restful color for the human eye. Natural brands, eco companies, and wellness products lean heavily into green for this reason. So the key here is clear. Color isn't an aesthetic choice. It's a psychological direction. Every color decision you make is telling your audience how to feel before they even read that word. So use that intentionally. We even see colors in brands. So this is the real world example. Look at some of the world's most recognizable brands and their color choices, and notice how deliberate every single one is. Think about Coca-Cola's red, urgency, energy, excitement. McDonald's yellow and red, warm, fast, stimulating, right? Facebook's blue, trust, connection, reliability. Whole foods, being, health, fun. So these are not accidents. These companies have invested enormous resources into understanding the psychology of color choice. And once you see it, you can see it. This is why strategy is one of the first things a brand designer tackles. The color you choose communicates your brand values before a customer reads the label, your tagline, or product description. As a designer, this is one of the powerful tools. Color change isn't just aesthetic, it can fundamentally shift your audience, how your audience perceives what you're saying, and who you are. So now let's look at this one example I have here. This was the poster we made for one of our events. Now we have this yellow register now element here, right? Let me just change that to something else. Let's say we turn it into blue. Now blue when used on white might look good, but the contrast here isn't matching. Here there isn't any contrast. This doesn't drag your eye's attention to it. Now when you change it to yellow, there's a contrast we find here. So your eye is first drawn to this. There's an urgency created that you'll miss out on the opportunity of the event. That is why you have to know which color to use when and how. So moving on to our second principle, contrast. So what really is contrasting properly defined? Because it's much broader than most of what we assume. At its core, contrast is about difference. It is the intentional placement of opposing or dissimilar elements next to each other so that one stands out from the other. And the reason it matters is simple. Contrast is what creates visual interest, directs the viewer's eye, and establishes hierarchy. Without contrast, no, everything like competes equally for attention, and when everything is competing, nothing wins. Your design becomes flat, boring, and even hard to navigate. Now, there are four types of contrast. The first one is contrast of color. This is the most obvious one. Just now we've seen the example. A bright yellow element on a dark navy background was looking extreme. There was extreme contrast in it. Whereas if I used a pale gray on an almost white background, there won't be any contrast. So color contrast is the fastest way to make something shout or whisper. Next is contrast of size. Big versus small is perhaps the most uh, intuitive. Place a massive headline next to a small caption, and the eye naturally will read the headline first. We interpret size as importance. The bigger it is, the more significant, right? So use this to your advantage when you design. Moving on, we have contrast text. One of the most underrated contrast points. When you place a rough, gritty texture alongside a smooth, glossy one, the difference creates visual interest and makes each element more distinct. Think about a magazine spread where a rough paper texture is used against a background which is clean, smooth. Okay. Same way, contrast of shape, geometric versus organic, circle versus squares, sharp versus soft. When different forms are placed together, the contrast between the shape creates visual distinction, adds variety to the layout. The shapes themselves carry meaning. Circles feel friendly and soft. Sharp edges and angles feel bold and precise. So you need to use all these four types of contrast deliberately, and your designs will instantly more feel more dynamic. So look at this here. First thing you notice here is this line. You will read this first, and then you will read this, then this one, and then you go to this at last. This contrast of text is generally called hierarchy. We'll learn that in the next topic of typography. Let's look at another example. Here you will read this first. There is no way you are missing this first text. And then you go here, and then you might go here, then go here. And most of them will even skip this paragraph. But so what you need to do is communicate whatever important information with these texts. So since we have come into typography, what is typography really? Typography is not just choosing a font, that's one small part of it, but not the whole thing. Typography is the art and technique of arranging type to make written language legible, readable, and visually compelling. It encompasses the choice of fonts, but also their size, weight, spacing, line length, line height, color, relationship. All these also matter. So let's get into few tips uh, which you can use while using these. So firstly, limit the number of typefaces, right? What typefaces is? It is just a family of fonts. What is fonts? Fonts has different weight or size. So if we have railway, right? In railway, we are railway is the typeface, and railway bold, railway thin, railway normal. You will see all these options. All those are fonts. Typefaces again are divided, differentiated into five types. We'll learn that later. Some of the beginner typography mistakes which everyone will make in their starting times are these: weak hierarchy, poor line length, bad line spacing, random font pairing, inconsistent spacing, overusing bold. Let's zoom into weak hierarchy specifically because it is so common and damaging. Hierarchy in typography is the visual system uh, that signals the reader which text is more important, which is secondary, and then the last. Here you can see there are too many fonts, there's no hierarchy, there's too much use of capitals. Here there is only use of bold and uh, caps on the first one, and then the second subheading, and so there's a clear flow where your eye has to move. Here you don't know where to move. Next is line length. Line length is one of those typography details that most people like never consciously think about, but they might feel it every time they actually read. When you use some, uh, when lines are too short, that is around under 40 characters, you're constantly breaking phrases mid thought. If the reader's eye has to jump back to the left margin too frequently, reading just becomes choppy. When you use sentences which are too long, you just lose trust. You don't know if really it is worth reading. The eye just struggles to find the start of the next line, so you end up just reading one line twice. All these problems are what you face when you use something too long. But when you're using something perfectly, which is around 45 to 75 characters, there's a proper balance. So next time you decide to uh, use line length, think what you want to do. Next is line spacing. Closely related to line length is line spacing, what typography calls leading or leading. Uh, yeah. Line spacing is the vertical distance between these lines, right? Usually, the ideal percentage, and I'm giving both the percentage and the formula because some applications like Canva will be using pixels as the lines length, whereas you'll go into Figma and you'll find percentages. So whenever you uh, this is the ideal, basically ideal values you need to use whenever you are adjusting the line space. Go about 1.4 to 1.6 times the font size. Coming to random font pairing, font pairing is an art form, and random font pairing is one of the quickest ways to make a design look bad. What does random font pairing look like? It's choosing a bold decorative serif for your headline, and a casual script for your subheading, and a narrow condensed sans for your body. Because each one look nice on its own, the result is visual chaos. The fonts aren't having a conversation; they are having a argument in ways. Here's an example. You can just see this one is clean and it gives a premium look. It conveys luxury. It isn't conveying luxury or premium feel because it's written so. It is because the fonts chosen are so. And inconsistent spacing. Spacing is the hidden architecture of design. You can have perfect typography, beautiful color, strong hierarchy, but if your spacing is inconsistent, the whole thing feels off. And often the viewer won't be even to tell why it is off. Here, you can see there's no space. All these lines are getting mixed up. Even sometimes one line gets into the way of the another. Passive microspacing. Let's go deeper into this. In passive, also called microspacing, refers to the small local spaces within your elements. The space inside a line of text, between letters, tracking, between words, and the internal padding within a button or a card. This is spacing that exists at the detail level. Whereas active or macro spacing refers to the larger structural between elements of your design. When designers talk about layout, breathing, they are usually talking about active spacing. When they talk about feeling tight or loose, they are usually talking about passive spacing. Good design will manage both. A design with macro spacing but terrible micro spacing will still feel a little uncomfortable to read. This bold is one of the most misunderstood tools in the typographic toolkit. You might have seen in your MS Word or presentations while you're making presentations. We have been taught whenever you want something to stand out, make it bold. But that really isn't the choice. When you've made everything bold, nothing is bold. So bold works because of contrast. A bold word in a sea of regular weight text draws the eye. It signals importance. It says pay attention there. So you can look at both of these examples. There is no difference in between the headline or the subheading text. But while here you can see there's a clear distinction, and your eye is first drawn here, and then you might read this. Coming to font psychology. Now, this is another important principle you need to. Just as colors have psychological assumptions, right? So do fonts. Now, first we have serif. What is serif? Serif is the finishing strokes at the ends of these letters you can see. They've originated from the Roman inscriptions and traditional print. So, fonts like Times New Roman or Garamond carry connotations of tradition, elegance, authority, and even credibility. They have a long history in publishing, academia, and journalism. Whereas sans serif, what does this mean? Sans in French means without. So there isn't any serifs on these fonts. These feel modern, clean, and more approachable. They are associated with technology, innovation, and simplicity. Next, we have scripts. We have slab serifs. These are what is happening here is the serifs are more of blocks. So that's why it's called slab serifs. These give a bold and strong feeling. Coming to scripts, these feel personal, warm, and creative. They're great for let us say if you want to make a wedding invitation or even some beauty brands or uh, whichever any company which needs more human touch. That is what this does. It gives a feminine energy. With display fonts, they are decorative, highly stylized, and are used for headlines and logos, where impact is everything and readability is really critical. So next time you're choosing a font, now you know the psychology behind each one, so you know which typeface to use, and then you can decide on the font. Let's look at this example. So I think there might be Taylor Swift fans in the meet. This is a bold kind of typographic design. It has just one word and left all is left alone. So you can the only attention is drawn here, and then the script typeface is used here, which gives a little bit of feminine energy also. Here you can see these serif fonts are conveying luxury to you. And again, another example of bold marketing is this one. Next, we move on to balance. This is another core design principle that operates largely below the level of consciousness. Balance in design uh, refers to the visual equilibrium, you can say. When design is well balanced, it feels stable, grounded, and even comfortable to look at. When it's unbalanced, it feels heavy on one side, it just feels tense, or something is just wrong. It's like a table with a leg which is shorter than others. In this, we have again two types: symmetrical balance and asymmetrical balance. Symmetrical is basically exactly what it sounds like. The design is arranged so that if you drew a line through the center horizontally or vertically, both sides would basically mirror each other. Whereas in asymmetrical balance, it is a little trickier, but it's just more interesting to look at. There is still balance, but the it might not be a mirror image of them. Here you can see balance. When this is divided as a diagonal, it perfectly mirrors each other. Whereas in this, it is asymmetrical balance. This might not mirror each other, but there is still some balance in the whole thing. It's not too messy, it is still readable. Layouts. Layouts is the intentional arrangement of your elements. Text, let it be text, images, shapes, or even icons within the design canvas. It's the architecture of your page. And like architecture, a well designed layout should be both beautiful and functional. It should look good and help the viewer navigate the information effortlessly. This is where all the principles we've been talking about come together. Your layout will use contrast to establish hierarchy. It will use alignment to create structure. It will use white space to create breathing room. It will use balance, symmetrical or asymmetrical, to feel stable or dynamic. It will use proximity to signal which elements are related. So when you start a design layout, the first question you have to ask is, what is the most important thing your viewer needs to see first? Then you can arrange what is second, what is third. Your layout is the answer to those questions. Every element's position, size, or even weight is the decision about priority and communication. Here, because of this proper layout, first you will come to the title and then this number, and then we go to the other details. So the flow of your eye is very clear in this. Alignment is one of the most powerful principles in design, one of the most frequently violated by beginners also. You might have seen all these alignments on your MS Word or some other applications, right? Alignment is the principle that every element on your page should visually be connected to something else. Nothing should be placed arbitrarily. So every line here will be uh, aligned to one edge here. In left alignment, most natural for Western readers, right? So you can see this example here. And centered alignments feels like more formal, and it can work for more beautiful titles or invitations or headlines. But it is harder to use in body text without looking awkward. Whereas in right alignment, it's a more dramatic and works for captions or even elements that need contrast. So precision creates structure. So in this, alignment is bringing order and cohesion to the design by ensuring elements are visually connected and positioned with purpose. When text, images, and shapes share a common edge or center line, the layout feels organized and intentional, which makes information easier to process. A well aligned grid in a magazine spread or neatly aligned form in a website creates balance and professionalism, while poor alignment can make even strong content look messy or even confusing. White space. This is probably my favorite thing to use. I've even used it throughout this presentation. White space is also called negative space. It is basically the empty space which you leave out throughout the design. Here's the most important thing I want you to take away. White space is not wasted space. It is active. It is essential space. It is what allows everything else to breathe. Now, if you read this line, white space isn't just around elements, it's inside typography too. If lines are too close, here they're too close, right? So now these lines are touching each other. So there's no speed. It just feels too stressful. While when they are too far away, there is no connection between them. So when the basic tip to use here is just use the table of 4 or 8 when you design. In this example, let us see. There is barely any white space. There is no, there's just too much clutter in this. You don't know where to go first. You're just demotivated immediately to not read anything. Whereas when white space is used properly, right? So your eye is guided properly again. You come to this first and then you go here. Then you actually want to. If your attention has been grabbed with these two texts, then you will go to the text and read actually the whole thing. So let's look at some examples of these, right? There might be F1 fans in the meet. The designer of the F1 logo has really played with this. Now you know that this it reads F1, but there are many white space ones used here. You can sit and look for them, and there are too many. There's another example of the Cinderella in her shoe, and you can look at the FedEx logo also. At firstly, you might think just written FedEx, but if you look closely enough, there is this arrow also. So this was our last slide. These are some YouTube channels and an Instagram page you can refer to for more design sources. I'll just show you some. Just a minute. Have this is laws of UX. You can find articles, books, and cards on here. One of them I'll show you. So you can click on articles. This is my source to like learn uh, design principles. There is one more website called Promotion. You can find graphic design examples here. Let us say if I click on this, there are more examples and so on. And then there are other websites for font, Google Fonts. You might have heard of this. There are probably every font you need, not just font, also icons you can find this. Just a minute, I'll refresh. Yeah. Okay, I'm having a little now. Okay. You can find icons on this, and you can even learn typography, this knowledge, right? Okay, I'm having a little bit of internet issue. You can explore this. Coolers is another website on which you can find color combinations. Let us say you wanted to uh, generate a color palette or even pick colors from images, visualize palettes. You can do that here. You can even use websites like Dafont or Google Fonts for these. So now that we've completed with the principal section, now it's time for you to apply them and learn a little bit of. So all these you can design on Canva, right? So Saksham will take it forward from here. He'll teach you the user interface of Canva, and then he'll show you some examples on how we design posters for our chapter. Thank you.
Hello guys, my name is Saksham. I hope my screen is visible. So I'll be walking you through the entire UI of Canva, and we'll also be looking at some designs that I've previously made, so you guys can get an idea of how to get started with design. So on my screen, you can see this is what you see when you open Canva on the website, or as I have it on the app downloaded in my laptop. So first start by just looking at what options we have. So when you first take a look, the most obvious part is this one. See what's new. So basically, this is the section where Canva gives you some templates which you can use based on whatever like festivals or occasions which have been like coming up. So like Hanuman Jayanti, or for the women who build and create because it was recently International Women's Day, and then Easter, Baisakhi. So these are basically template suggestions based on what people have been making recently. So okay, let's start by exploring the left sidebar first. So here it's the home option. You can see all the like the same thing, and then we can go to templates. When you click on templates, you basically get a lot of options related to whatever you might want to make. Just a minute, I'll give my attendance and come. Yeah, sorry for that. So yeah, under the template section, you can see we have a lot of options such as business, video, social media. So when I clicked on business, it is giving me options such as a portfolio. So I might want to advertise my business and then create a portfolio for it. So let's say I click on this one, I like this template. It gives me the option to customize this template. So when I open it, as you can see, every single part of this design is is an option to be edited. So I can move around all the elements and take a look. I can even select certain parts of it if I want to use them in my own design. And then next, if you go back, I also have templates related to social media. So again, if I want to create an Instagram post, it gives me a template for that, Facebook post, templates for that, and so on and so forth. So this is the template section. This is very useful if you're just starting out because it helps you get inspirations for designs, or if there is something that you don't want to put in much effort, so you can just select a template and enter whatever you want. Then next we move on to the project section. In this section, you can see all the designs that this was the design that we just opened. So it is already showing up in the design section. And then these are all the designs that I have recently opened up in my account. So it is showing me these. It includes both the designs that I've made myself or that have been shared to me with editor access. So I can take a look at them whenever I want. So yeah, this is about the home page, I guess. And then, okay, yeah, this section is very useful. This lets you create a new design from scratch. So first, if I click presentation, what it does is it opens a new design with the aspect ratio already in the presentation format, and then again it gives me templates related to that aspect ratio. So again, because I just used portfolio, it is giving me suggestions related to portfolios. But if I wanted to, let's say, make a presentation related to design, so it is giving me templates related to that. So I can click any one of them and it will apply this template here, and then I can use this template and customize it as I want. And now again, if we go to the social media section, it won't open a design immediately. It will give me a lot of options because social media social media has a lot of websites such as Facebook, Instagram, and everything has different like Instagram has features such as stories, posts, reels, etc., which each have their own aspect ratios and elements. So Canva gives me the option to uh, granularly select which one I want. So I can go to social media, then go to, let's say, Pinterest, and it will directly fix the aspect ratio, that is 1000 into 1500 pixels, and make it into an ad. Or let's say Twitter, it will give me the option to directly make a Twitter expost custom on Canva. So the goal here is key I don't need to first go on the internet, look for the aspect ratio, and then create a design. I just need to open Canva and it already has everything ready for me. Next, we move on to the photo editor option. Here it is showing me all the photos that I've recently uploaded. These are all related to our events. So in this, if I select any photo, it gives me the option to either remove the background, use a magic eraser to remove some part of it, generate a new background and such. Then we can also edit. Canva has limited video editing capacities, but still some of them are very useful if you want to make some quick edits. Then printables. This is a very useful section because on social media you might still easily find the aspect ratio or the sizes for the designs that you want to make. But printables are something different. So let's say I want to make a business card. Instead of having to look for it, I can just open Canva again. And as you can see, when I hover over it, it is showing me that the business card is 3.5 into 2 inches. So that's the standard size. And if I open it, I'll be able to customize one for myself. Then this is just the popular section. We can go to marketing, which shows business card again, the flyer, a menu, and then cards, and under cards and invites, I can see a baby shower portrait, graduation invitation. So if I open it, it just fixed the aspect ratio in the design, and then it automatically searched graduation invitation in the template section. So here I have all the graduation related templates. I can select any one of them and start customizing it at once. So then we move on to documents. Documents, again, it is very similar. It is giving me the sizes directly related to whatever document I might want to make. And then yeah, this is basically everything is the same here. So under emails, it lets you make a template for your emails so they don't look bland. And then finally we have the custom size option, which we'll be using right now. So let's say I wanted to make an Instagram post for the Witmas page. So the standard aspect ratio for that is 1080 into 1440. So when I put that in, you can see that it is also suggesting that this aspect ratio is generally used for Instagram posts. So then it also gives me the option to choose the units. So here it says pixels by default, but if I wanted to get something printed, I would find it more comfortable to be in real world measurements. So I also have the option to select inches, millimeters or centimeters. Right now I'll be continuing with pixels. So if I click create new design, oh, wait a minute, I'll just close this. Yeah, so if I create new design and then, okay, now let's look at the options that I have inside the, once we have opened a design, let's look at what all options we have. So in the left sidebar, first, again, we have templates. Anything you think you can search for, you will find a template for it. So let's say the festival of Eid has just crossed. So if I search for Eid, there are a lot of templates. The festival of Baisakhi is about to come up. So if I search for Baisakhi, I should get some templates here. As you can see, happy Baisakhi templates. So I can choose anyone and customize. Then I have the element section. So this is one of the most important and fun parts of Canva, I would say. So if you don't want to use a template and want to start a design from scratch, so this is what you go for. So let's say first I'll put a background color here. Let's say, okay, blue. And then when I go to the element section, let's say I want to design a birthday card for someone. So I can write happy birthday here and search for it. So, and when I go to graphics, it'll give me a lot of options related to the keyword that I've just searched. So when I search for happy birthday, it is giving me like some animals, some cakes, or some like just the happy birthday text. So let's say I like this one. This is cute. So let's say I want to put this here. So one interesting feature that Canva has, normally when you select an element from the elements tab, it picks out some of the colors from the image and you can see those here. Now the interesting thing is you can change these colors. these particular ones. You don't get to choose what colors Canva chooses to pick out, but once it has picked out some colors, those are completely customizable. So let's say I want the dinosaur to be pink instead of green. So I can just do it like this, and the dinosaur is pink now. Yeah. So this is that. And then under the element section again, there are various element categories as well. So first of all, we can see shapes. So under shapes, you can get every single shape that you can ever imagine, like the basic shapes. So such as obviously the square, the rectangle, the circle, but also like polygons with different number of edges, and then stars, arrows, flowchart shapes. Let's say you want to make a presentation and you want to make a flowchart in it. So you don't need to remember all the names of the various shapes that are commonly used in flowcharts. You can just go to Canva and it already has a subsection named flowchart shapes. So you can easily go for them. Then let's say you're designing a comic or something. So it has a separate speech bubble section. If I click see all, so these are like the 4 or 5 most common ones. So you can easily use them. Then we can see clouds, hearts, banners, teardrops, etc. So these are abstract shapes. These are ones you mostly use in like marketing copyright. So to make the designs look more unique and attractive. Yeah. And then if we go back, then we move on to the graphics section. Graphics is the section that we just explored. So again, this was for the birthday. So if I want to, let's say, let's look at the poster of the event we are currently hosting. So for the poster, we wanted a paint palette to be there. So let's say I searched for paint palette. As you can see, I can see a lot of paint palettes here. So let's say I like this one. So yeah, once this is here, as you can see in this, Canva did not think that there were any particular colors it could choose from. So it did not give me any particular options. If I choose a different one, I might get that. Let me try. Yeah, so here as you can see, it did not pick out any colors in that one, but now here I have 5 options. So if I let's say I want to change this pink color to something else, I can do that very easily. I can make it orange, green, or anything else. Okay, so the pink was present here as well as here, so it's changing in both places. Then we can move on. Then the third is animations. Animations, they are if you're making the static post, then the animations section is not for you. But if you're designing something which moves like a Instagram story or something, then this can be very useful. So let's say we are making something related to a festival. So we can just go to the festive animation section, and then, or even let's say if I was still designing this as a birthday card, so I can just remove this and make this small and maybe duplicate it and place it here. If I wanted to make this birthday story for someone, I could make it like this. Then apart from animations, we also have photos. Okay, so when we were exploring the shapes and graphics section, that is mostly digital design or computer art. But the photos section, this gives you real photos. So if I've already selected photos, if I go for a paint palette now, you won't get the clip arts that we were getting earlier. Now, what I'm getting is either actual paint palettes, or because it does not have a lot of images of those, it is giving me the wooden palettes as well used for transportation of stuff. So yeah, in between paint palettes, otherwise I'm just getting wooden palettes. Then we have videos. Videos also very similar to pictures. We can use them. These are just stock footage, so you can use that. And then again, audio, charts, forms, sheets. So yeah, this one is an interesting feature of Canva, where you get frames. So in a frame, what you can do is, let's say you want to design an Instagram post, so and you want to insert your pictures in different shapes. So you can use these frames, and let's say I choose this one. So I can now I have the option to insert any image into this frame, and it will conform to the shape of this letter. So let's see if I have any uploads here. I might have the Whitmas logo. Give me a minute. Yeah. So this is a picture. If I click it here, as you can see, it has cropped itself into the shape of the A. So yeah, that's basically the purpose of this. I can also move it around to select which section of the logo I want to be showing in the A. And that's it. That's the frame section. You get a lot of interesting shapes there. You can even see, like, it shows me devices. So if I go under this, let's say I want to choose the phone. So now if I click the Witmas logo and I remove it from here, give me a minute. Yeah, so one, I've detached it from the A and I've moved it onto the phone. So now I can see how the logo would look like when it's fully zoomed in on a phone. Yeah, so I can go back and then, yeah, we also have the mockup section. So again, earlier we could just use phones, but here it gives me a lot of options such as apparels, computers. You can use this kind of imagery when you are using a product. Okay, I think this is glitching out for some reason. So yeah, let's see. I'll just add another page. So let's say you were making the ad for a website that you've just launched. So you could use something like this and then make your the screenshot of the homepage of your website, and you can make it show up here. So that'll look good. And then, yeah, this was basically the element section. This is one of the most useful parts of Canva because, like, basically, if you don't want to put in a lot of effort, you can just open a design, take all the elements you want from here. Of course, you get the text options right inside Canva, and you can complete a design within 30-40 minutes. So, okay, in line with that, let's move on to the text section. So under text, you get a lot of options. First of all, this is very basic. It lets me, okay, I'll add another page. The text option, it lets me add a heading, a subheading, or a little body of text. Now again, these are completely customizable. These are just some preset options with a font and a font size if I want to get something done quick. So even with this, if I added a heading, I can just expand it to change the size, of course, or I can go from here. And then there's the dynamic text option. If I click this, so it says page numbers added to all pages. So if I zoom in, sorry, if I zoom in, you can see that it has added the number 3 here. And if I scroll up, 2. So now this is called dynamic text for a reason because let's say I delete this one. It'll automatically detect that only 2 pages are left and make it number 1 and make this one number 2 instead of 3, which it was earlier. And then apps, this is a very useful section. I'll come this to this one later. And then, yeah, this is the final like section with the text, that is font combinations. So let's say you wanted to design a logo for your website, or maybe even just a small ad for it, but you don't know a lot about fonts and font combinations. So what Canva does is it gives you some pre-made options which you can go for directly, or at least you can use them as inspirations for what you finally decide upon. So let's say I wanted to yeah, so let's say this one, it says 30% off on all products. So multiple fonts because it has already the 30%, it is the 30 section, this is in a different font, percent, it is in a different font, and these are all in different fonts. So as you can see, when I have this selected, it also shows here multiple fonts. If I select this one, it will show Canvas on. So yeah, so you can use this section as inspiration, or you can also use these fonts directly. Of course, these are again fully customizable. If I wanted to use this directly, but my product has 50% off, I can just change this 30 to 50, and yeah, I have it ready. 50% off on all products. Next, we can move on to the text section. Also has a lot of options. Okay, I'll just show you that right now. So let's say I have a body of text selected. So if you look in the top bar, I have the font option. So here Canva has a lot, and I mean a lot of fonts to choose from. So I can just keep scrolling and you guys can see these are some of the most popular fonts, and now they are in the alphabetical order. So you can choose from the fonts, but sometimes choosing a font is a bit overwhelming. However, if you know what kind of vibe you're going for, so let's say, as Aniruddha just taught you guys, if you want to convey luxury, you'll mostly go for a script or a serif font. But if you want to go for, like, you want to make a big show, you might want to go for a display font. So, hence, Canva also has pre made font filters. So, if I click handwriting here, it will filter out the fonts and only show me the ones in the script or a handwriting format. So here, as you can see, I've clicked under the add a heading. Under add a heading, I can see, let's say I want to do this one. So yeah, so these are all the handwriting fonts that Canva has. And then if I go back, I can also choose corporate. So this will give me some corporate fonts that I might want to use in a internal copy or something. So again, let's say this one. So this is very straightforward. This is the sans serif font. And then again, we have display options here. So if I go to display, as you can see, all of these ones, the earlier ones were very straightforward, but all of these ones stand out a lot. So like this one, yeah. Like if you see this on a logo or something, it will definitely grab your attention at first. So again, you can customize this. Obviously, you can customize the size of all fonts, and yeah. Then we can move on to the upload section. This is basically any picture you upload to Canva from your device is saved in the upload section. But this is mostly useful if you want to use the same elements over and over again. So you don't have to go into your device. So because I mostly design posters for the chapter, I have the VIT logos and the Witmas logos in my upload section. So if I click this, I'll immediately get the logo here and I can use it as I want. Then I have the tool section. This is for some, if you wanted to do manual like drawing and all, so you can use the tool section. It also has shapes, lines, and sticky notes and text, etc. Then the project section. This is again the projects. This is the same section as we saw from the home page. It gives me a quick link to all the designs that I have in my account. Then the apps. Yes, this is an extremely useful part of Canva. So in the app section, you get options to make your work like quick. If you don't want to customize the let's say you don't want to customize a font too much in order to make it look the way you want, you can use apps to make it so directly. So let's say I want to make my font look like this, so I can just open this app and okay, so this one has a lot of options. So let's say I want to make it look like this. So I can enter whatever text I want here. Let's say Witmas, and then it lets me choose the font also. So let's say, okay, I like the one it is currently on. It is letting me choose the colors. So okay, orange is nice. I want to change this one to something else. Let's say plain white. And then, so basically, instead of having to just put in a text and put on effects to make it look something like this, I can make it look exactly like this. So yeah, so as you can see, it says Witmas. Just the only drawback is if I want to customize this, I cannot do it directly here. I need to change the details here. Let's say I just wanted to say VIT. I cannot move it here. I have to write VIT here and then update element. So once I update it, it just says VIT. Then again, this was an app related to fonts. There are a lot of those. Otherwise, we also have other apps such as AI Voice, Magic Media, charts, photos, etc. So one of the examples I wanted to show you was bulk create. So okay, we'll use a template for this. Let's say I wanted to make certificates for something. So let's say certificate. Okay, this is just showing me from my design. So if I go to the templates tab and search for certificate, So yeah, as you can see, if you wanted to make certificates, you don't need to start from scratch. You already have a lot of options already available. So out of this, let's say I like this one, or maybe this one. So I can go to this, customize this template. Now let's say I want to give out the same certificate to 25 people. All the details remain the same, only the name needs to be changed. So instead of having to add new pages repeatedly and type in the names myself, what I can do is I'll use the bulk create option. So what this lets me do is I can attach a Google sheet or a Excel sheet to it. So here I have the option to enter data the manually. Otherwise, I can upload data. So let's say upload data, and then I have a file on desktop called names. So okay, it is showing me like the selected range. I can even inside the Excel sheet, I have I think 24 or 25 names. It is giving me the option to customize even from there if I don't want to choose certain names. So I want to keep all of them. So I'll just click continue, and then it says connect data to your elements. So now Canva does not know where I want to place this name, because to Canva this is all, every single body of text is the same. So what I'll do is I'll put this and hover it over here and leave it, drop it. So now as you can see, the name field is attached to this. So when I click continue, now again it is showing me all the names that I have entered. So if I don't want to put in a particular name, I can unselect it as well. Otherwise I'll just keep all of them. And then if I click create 24 designs, I can go to view design. And yeah, as you can see, Aditya Srivastav, Navya Jain, Arun Srinivas, all the names that I had in my Excel sheet, they have been converted into certificates without having me having to do much. So I can, if some of the names are a bit big, I can choose to customize the name to be smaller or bigger. But otherwise, most of the work has already been done for me. So yeah, okay. Now what we'll do is we'll look at some of the designs that I've made in the past, and I'll walk you through. I'll walk you guys through how I made them. So first of all, we have this one. This is the first design that I made for Bitmas as a junior. So this is the basic layout that VIT requires us to have for all the event posts that we put on Instagram. So it requires the chapter logo in the top right corner, the VIT logo in the top left corner, and then these student welfare and our social links at the bottom. In the central part, we can do whatever we want. So for this one, the event name was Arduino Uno. So yeah, I was just given the event details, like the time, the date, and the place, and then the event name. I had a free hand, whatever I wanted to do. So the first thing I did was I opened Canva and went to the Elements tab, of course, and I searched for Arduino. So under graphics, I searched for quite a while, like 5-7 minutes, but I did not find anything which was very appealing to me, like in the first glance. Because as you can see, some of these options are very simple, while some of those are too complex to be put on a poster. So in situations like this, you can use various tools such as I have a lot of websites bookmarked here, but mostly I go for Pinterest because it has the widest variety of choices. So as you can see, if I search for a yellow, that time I just search for Arduino, but just for a quick look, I search for yellow Arduino and this one comes up. This is the exact one that I have used in the poster right here. So I just copied this into Canva, cropped the wires and the word Arduino because I did not want to use that part, and then proceeded to make the design around that element. So because it was a like tech related event, it was a technical event. So I made the fonts. I chose the fonts according to that. This is HK modular, and then the Arduino title is in graduate, and I think this is also okay. This is again HK modular. So as you can see, the fonts should match the vibe or the emotion that you want to convey with your poster or advertisement or whatever you may call it. So, and then after that, initially the background was just plain black, but that did not sit well with me. So I just, again, I went on to Pinterest and searched for, I think, like yellow background, scratches or something, and then this came up. So I just inserted that so that the poster did not look blank at any point. So next we can move on to this one. This one was another poster I made during the summer break. Okay, no, I think this was before. Yeah, April 18. This was before the summer break. So in this one, this is relatively simple compared to the previous one. One unique thing here is the combination of fonts for the title. So the complete event title was the Data Science Toolkit Kalman Filters. But in this, and even under this, Kalman Filters was the thing that had to be highlighted. So instead of using the same font for both, I chose to do a simple, as you can see when I select this, it says multiple fonts. So when I go into this is just Barlow condensed, but here I'm using Foda display, which is a display font. But I think the same font is used for Witmas here. Okay, no, this is tan numbers, but they look very similar. So yeah, the point was to attract attention to the word Kalman filters instead of the data science toolkit. So again, it has the same basic information. And then this image, I think I picked from Pinterest again. So yeah, and one of the things that we haven't explored yet is this section. So let's do that as well right now with this poster as an example. I'll just duplicate this. So in this poster, let's say for the Office of Students Welfare text, I have a lot of options right here as well. So first, we already saw the font section and the font size. Obviously, I have the option to choose the font color. Canva has a lot of default solid colors with the presets. Otherwise, I can also have some basic default gradient, default gradients as well. I can use them in backgrounds as well as text bodies. And then this is the text color. And then I have the option to make the text. This is already in bold, so I made it unbold. Can bold the text, italics, and underline, or even strike through. So I'll just zoom in so you guys can take a closer look. So yeah, as you can see, I've applied all four effects. So the text is has been strike through. It is in italics, underlined. So yeah, I'll just remove this. And then this option is already enabled. It says uppercase. So I think this font is by default in uppercase, so it is not showing up. I'll just add a new text box and show you guys. Text box. So yeah, I'll just write hello. I'll make the color white. And then if I click this option now, it will make the text uppercase, all in caps, instead of whatever it was before. And also one more interesting option that Canva gives you is that whatever images you insert, it tries to pick colors and show you here. So if you want to change them, you can. But otherwise also it picks some of the colors from here and shows them under here in the section called photo colors. So as this one does has a single image only, it does not. But I think if I go to this page and under colors, okay, this is loading. I think the server has some trouble doing that right now. So we'll see if it shows up in the upcoming designs. So yeah, as I was saying, so this gives you the basic bold, italics, underline options, and then uppercase. And then this one lets you modify the alignment. So let's say I want to write Witmas is the maths chapter at VIT. So wait, I'll just remove this. So right now this font is in the, it is a center aligned, but if I click it once, it will go to left aligned. Then this is justified, right aligned, and then again center aligned. I can change the size of this box if I want more of the text to be in the next few lines. Otherwise, like this. Yeah. And then what do we have next? I have a list option. So if I wanted to convert this into a list, let's say Whitman's is the maths chapter at VIT, point number 2, point number 3, I can easily convert it into a list as well. Then this is the letter spacing and line spacing tab. This is also, I'll just remove the list in a minute. So under this option, I can change the letter spacing. So I think you guys can see what I'm talking about when I move the slider. So when I increase the letter spacing, the distance between each letter goes up. And if I increase the line spacing, the distance between each line goes up. So this helps you maintain the, like earlier we talked about white space. So this lets you modify the white space according to whatever the design needs. Then we have the transparency option. This I'll tell you in the in one of the upcoming designs. And then effects. Yeah, effects is also one of like one a very useful option. So sometimes, like in this case, it did not need it, but sometimes the text needs a bit more to stand out. So what you can do is put an effect on it. So okay, it already has an effect. I did not remember. It has a glow effect. So let's see. If I turn it on or off, it does not matter much because it has a very less intensity. But if I, let's say, put an outline, so you can clearly see it. Let's say I put an orange outline. So yeah, this all comes under text effects. So we have outline, drop shadows, glow, echo, hollow, and again, Canva also has some preset text styles which you can use directly without having to do everything manually. So let's say I like this text style, I can just click this and it will change it to that. I can modify the thickness of the design, but not much else. This is similar to the app section that we can see right here. Again, this app section, these are the apps pertaining only to text. It has removed all the other options and only showing the text related apps. I can also have the option to remove effect here. So if I click Control Z, it will go back to the way it looked earlier. Yeah. So next we have this. So as you can see, the top and the bottom, they are mostly fixed. But then in the center, instead of doing the what I did earlier, like all the text was white and just a colored element and a colored background. In this one, basically we had a game called Mathler, which is similar to Wordle, but you need to guess the math equation. So I put in this element, and then instead of leaving the text as white, I put it in the colors of the word elements, so yellow and then green, to make it a little more interesting. And also, as you can see in the background, I inserted a what I did was I first earlier it looked like this, but as you can see, this is not very attractive. It looks very plain. So I inserted this image. I took it from Pinterest, and it originally looked like this. But if I have it like this, again the text is not legible at all, or even if it is legible, it does not look that attractive. So this transparency option, we skipped it over earlier, but now I'll show you. I can reduce the transparency here to make it so that the background is apparent, but not so much that it is interfering with the text or the main details, right? And next, okay, this is an interesting one. Until now, all the posters that we've seen, they have mostly been based around one element and one background. This is a poster I made for another club, the PLA, Punjab Literary Association. So again, the VIT format is still there. The Witmas logo has been replaced by the PLA logo. But here, this was basically a quiz about the Olympic champions who have their origins in Punjab. So in this, the name was Sade Champions, and then each of these, I did not find a single collage. Each of these players is a separate element. So I found these pictures online, removed the background for each one of them, and like combined them in such a way to make it look appealing. Here, as you can see, Punjabi Literary Association presents. So even here, instead of making the text plain white, I made the colors of PLA presents and then Sade champions into the colors of the tricolor because it was, yeah. And then these ones I did not make, but this one I did. So I did not make this one entirely. I helped in some sections of it. So as you can see, overall the vibe we were going for was very rustic from the fonts and all you can see. So here, let's say this camera. So if I was going here, this element has been taken from Canva directly. So as you can see, we have an option to customize its color here. Let's if I was making a modern looking poster or maybe I was designing a story for my own Instagram page. I might have wanted to make this look more interesting, so I might use this or this. But because the theme was rustic, we went with this color. So it blended in well with the rest of the poster. And for this section, instead of finding something like this directly, if I click, you can see this Polaroid was inserted separately, while this image was inserted separately. And they were combined to give a good look. And then this newspaper, this was added to get rid of some of the, like, because this real part is a bit repetitive, so this newspaper was added to get rid of that. Then, okay, this is also a bit different from what we've been doing till now. So until now we were only designing, like obviously this is also an Instagram post, but until now we were designing posts like a single post at a time. But I guess all of you use Instagram. So if you look at the Instagram page of any like any Instagram page, you'll see that all the posts are three posts at a time in a single row. So if you look at the Witma's page right now, for all the events that we do, for every single event, we try to put a 1x3 poster. What this means is that three posts are dedicated to a single event. So when someone looks at our Instagram page, all the rows look cohesive. So in this poster, the central part is mostly the same, but then on the right and the left, we told about the topic that we were covering, because Cipher Quest, it is not a very indicative title about the event. So on the right, we have about cryptography, like it is a practice of securing information, etc. And then on the left, we were supposed to add the about the event details. So yeah, and then this is also same. This one has a unique feature that instead of making the element the central part, like in all of the posters, the element is the central thing. In this one, the event title was a bit long and it had to be included somehow. So what I did, instead of making the element, first I tried this one, but what this did was he made the event title very small. So what I did, I placed the event title in a large font in front and then moved the element back. So it is still there, but it does not cover up the whole thing. And also because the rest of the poster looked a bit empty, so I added some like geometrical shapes on the corners and reduced the transparency of each, so that they did not interfere with the front elements, but they were still present. And what you can see here are guidelines. So these are, I'll show you how they are used just now. So guideline, when I was designing a single poster at a time, guidelines are not that important. But if I want to design a poster like this, where I know ki this is going to be uploaded in three separate parts and then it will look complete on Instagram, I need to have an idea of which post has what section. So what I can do is go to the files, settings, and then add guides. So here I go to custom. I can tell Canva that I want there to be three columns and no gaps in between them. So if I click add guides, so as you can see, so now I have a clear idea of, I'll just unlock these. So I have a clear idea where one post starts and the other one and ends, and then the next one starts. So I can also, so if I hover over this, you can see that it ends at 1080, and then the next one ends at 2160. So I can move these around as I want, but I want them to be there only. So I'll just do Control Z. So yeah, this basically lets me see that none of the content from one of the posts is bleeding over into the other. Because without the guides, I might have placed the Vitmas logo here, but then it would have gotten cropped here and then bled onto the post on the right. So guides are a lot like very useful for that. Then okay, these are very similar. This one, okay, compared to the previous ones, which were all event posters, this is a festive poster. So festive posters usually give you a lot of freedom. So like this one, I had to design an Independence Day poster. So I started with the tricolor background and then the India gate in front. and then instead of putting the Happy Independence Day in plain text, I chose to make it into the colors of the tricolor again. But you can see if I made the 79th Independence this line white, it would not have shown up very well on the, or not at all, in front of the cream background. So instead of going for white, I chose the indigo of the Ashok Chakra to do the same thing. So this is saffron and then indigo and then green. This one. So yeah, I guess okay. Just one, two sections that I missed. First is the animation section. So again, if you're making a static post or a static Instagram story, these are not relevant. But if you are making like short video clips or something, these can be very useful. So animations are basically like you've used in PowerPoint, I assume. So if I click typewriter, this is how the text starts to appear. Instead of it just always being there, it comes up slowly. I can also modify the speed. If I want it to come up very quick, I can increase the speed or I can decrease the speed. And then this is the typewriter type, or otherwise I can have the bounce. So as you can see, each individual letter is bouncing when it comes up, and then rise in this instead of going letter by letter. As you can see here, it shows ABC, so it gives you some idea that it will either go letter by letter or word by word. But because it shows the complete thing here, so it will rise, pan or fade as a whole, this text box. And then finally we have the positions tab. So this one is again extremely useful. I just go back to one of the posters to tell you more about it. So let's say I go to the position tab. So this tab lets me uh, look at the positions and the options more closely when talking about each element. So let's say I have this element, I would like it to be in the center. So instead of having to move it around and guess, or like it does show me the guides to where the center might be, but still, instead of doing that, I can just select this element, click center, and it will automatically get centered with respect to the page. So I can also modify the height and width of this graphic. So here I have two options. Either I can modify the width and height separately. Otherwise, if I click the lock ratio button, so what this does is, okay, it will lock the ratio of the height and the width. So if I change it from 302 to 200, it will modify the height automatically. So the ratio still remains the same. If I unlock it and then I change the width to 200, it will either crop it or expand it in order to fit the new dimensions, but it won't affect the height in any way. So earlier it was 200, let's make it 400. So yeah, the height is still the same, but it has cropped it instead of maintaining the ratio. Then we have the X and Y. This is basically the coordinates. So this can also be used in order to maintain the position. And then finally, there is the layers tab. The layers tab, this can be useful in a poster like this, the one I just showed you. So here I did not want the element to be in front of the text. So I just went into position and then layers. And as you can see, the text is in this layer while the element, yeah, as you can see, the element is in this layer. So as long as this element is below this text, so it will show up behind it. But once I put it below the element has its layer above the text. So right now the transparency is low, so you can't see it clearly. But as you can see now, the element is present on top of the text. So I did not want that, so I just changed its layers, and then the text appears on top of the element. But still the element transparency is high, so it is interfering with the text. So I'll just reduce that again, and now it looks good. Yeah, and then yeah, I guess that's about it. These are some of the websites. I guess Anirudh already showed you, but again, I think he had some internet issues, so I'll just show these to you. First of all, obviously, we have Pinterest. Anything you want to make a poster about or want to know about, you can go onto it. You'll find hundreds of graphics. And then it is all like it is suggesting me a graphics card. So if I wanted to make a poster related to that, I can do that. And then just give me a minute. And then we have pixels. This is again of a stock image and stock video website. You can use it if you want to do, if you want to make something customized, you can use this for stock images. And then we have laws of UX. Anirudh was trying to show you this, but he faced some internet issues. Laws of UX is basically, this has a lot of articles about use. UX basically is user experience. So a lot of the principles that were discussed earlier have separate articles on here. So we can go to any one of them, explore about it, and you can implement these principles into your own designs. And then obviously we have Google Fonts and coolers. So Google Fonts can be used to like find fonts and icons, and then coolers can be used to make and find color combinations as well. Oh yeah, and then one last thing. This is instead of Canva, this is Figma. So Figma, the thing with Figma is it gives you a lot of freedom, like compared to Canva. Like in Canva, you're limited to a page or a page by page basis. So if you, I want all of you to go to the Witma's Instagram page right now. If you look at our last 33 posts, all of them are from here, from this design. So if I wanted to make the same thing in Canva, what I would have to do is I go here and then add pages separately like this and then do the design. But what Figma gave me the option to do is Figma basically has frames. So if I click here and go to frame, so I can customize the size of the frame and according to the number of posts we wanted. So we just made this single frame, and as you can see, this has the frame 3. This has a 30 to 40 by 15,000 dimension. So this allowed us to make the Instagram posts for all our recent events for Mathomania at once without having to do a lot of the grunt work repeatedly. And then instead of having to export this frame every single time and then crop it whenever we wanted to put a post, we have an option to use slices. If you can see, there are dotted lines in between each and every poster. So if I click S, it gives me the option to create a new slice, and then I can export that particular section instead of having to do the whole. So this was just a small example, but yeah, like this, Canva gives, while Canva allows you to make posts and posters quickly because it has all the options right there, such as the elements tab and the text and all tab. Figma takes some more work, but it also allows you to be a lot more granular with what you're trying to do. So yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you guys for attending this session. I'll just share the Google form for the attendance in the chat in a minute. Do you have any doubts? Anyone? Okay, I guess not. I'll just share the form then. Thank you. You may fill the form and then leave.